Yeah. So the thing is that those of us who weren't actually like in the situation of the violence, we still have to survive without the people that we loved. They, those people didn't just exist beside us. They love us back. They meet our needs. They become a part of us and a part of our identity. So, something I learned from the book The Grieving Brain by Mary Frances O'Connor is that when we lose someone we love, our brains search for them in the space around us, in the spaces that they use to occupy. Our brains like have to rewire themselves to understand and to accept that that person is no longer anywhere. Um, so while we didn't experience the trauma of losing our lives to the violence, we do experience losing a part of ourselves. We have to move through the process of figuring out how to adjust to an entirely different life without our person. The Grieving Brain, the book I mentioned, helped me to understand what my brain was going through while I grieved. I also read The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, and that helped me to understand how my body is feeling and how that trauma is within me in a physical sense. But we also don't really talk about in domestic violence situations, we often know the perpetrator. And we don't really talk about the grief that comes with having been friends with someone, with having been close to someone who does something that awful and makes it so that the person we love doesn't exist anymore. Sharing on the social media platform that I use the most helped me to reach the most people who could both support me through my grief, but also who felt like they were being helped by someone actually talking out loud about these things, sharing my experience, sharing the facts that I was learning. People were reaching out to me and saying, "Thank you. I can't talk about this," but hearing what I had to say helped them. So I think that that's been valuable for people. And yes, I did record several videos and I made several posts about it, about my experience as I moved through it. So if anybody's interested in checking out those videos or those posts, my Facebook handle is KimNick25. Absolutely. So I actually got the most support both in my community. Emma was a pillar in our community, so I wasn't grieving alone. I guess I was fortunate in that sense, that there were hundreds of people experiencing that grief, experiencing that loss. So I read a lot of books. I take a very brain-based approach to my mental health. Those books were incredibly insightful and helped me understand what I was going through. But yes, I got into the program with SIU. It's called the Survivor Recovery Center. They offer individual and group therapy for survivors of domestic violence, as well as anyone impacted by the trauma of violence. I think Springfield is really lucky to have this resource and that that resource receives enough funding to be able to provide these services. I'll also say that I heard about a grief support group that was run through a women's shelter. I didn't attend. Going to a support group it can be really difficult to get dressed and leave the house and find that resource and to even sometimes want to spend time with other people who are experiencing these things. That can be really hard. But I appreciated knowing that there was a group like that. And I did want to recommend to viewers that if they're experiencing something like this, domestic violence specific, to reach out to your local shelters. These support groups are not advertised, because they're for women who are afraid, and families who are afraid of what their situation is. So I would lean on resources like that. Yeah. So I found individual therapy to be incredibly helpful and still do. But the group setting really helps to hear other people's perspectives of what they're experiencing. You can get tips and tricks that other people are using to handle their daily lives while they're living with this kind of pain. So, and not only that, there really is a support to going in and having people just listen to you and validate your experience so that you don't feel like you're alone. Yeah. And that is a big thing. Moving through grief is different for everyone. For me, allowing myself the space to grieve however it comes up was crucial. The thing about humans is that we are social animals. We require community to heal our emotional discomfort and to feel accepted. Like I said, Emma was a pillar in our community. So for me, I had, again, the good fortune to have that community of hundreds of people around me. I don't know what I would have done without that, but not everybody is that fortunate. So I think finding community wherever you can is very important. We live in a technological world, we have social media. There are so many groups out there that people can join. My caution there would be to not get stuck in an echo chamber of pain and hurts, and making sure that the people you're surrounding yourself with are being supportive and helpful in actually moving through that. But as far as the experience, I think pretty much everyone experiences grief as almost a roller coaster. Some days are going to be better than others, and just accepting the feelings as they come. I know for me, there would be days where I was happy and surrounding myself with people. And then there would be moments or entire days where I just would shriek and sob, and I'd feel angry. And yeah, for me, sharing really helped. I know a lot of people can't do that, but I would recommend maybe writing down the thoughts that you're having as they come up, stopping for a moment to really feel where you're feeling that in your body. That can help you feel grounded. And for me, it provides a bit of a release so that I can calm down and feel a little bit better. Oh, how do I feel about it? Honestly, I feel like it was difficult. It still is difficult, but I don't know. I feel like I handled it in a healthy way. I'm fortunate enough to have access and an established relationship with an individual therapist. He happens to specialize in grief and trauma. So for me, having that resource was incredibly important. And then getting accepted into the Survivor Recovery Center and establishing a relationship with them and a therapist there, who truly specializes in trauma and grief, was really helpful. But also, they specialize in a method called EMDR. This is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's a difficult process to go through, but it's very healing. I felt relief almost immediately. So it helps you to kind of rewire the misconnections that are happening in your brain, and almost, I mean, really reprocess the traumatic experiences that you've had in a controlled manner, in a safe place, and then, tie together the different pieces of yourself that are connected that you may not have realized were connected. So, no stuffing things down, really working through the feelings as they come up and just letting it happen.